All right, we have a wonderful full hour ahead of us, and I want to get started. I'm Catherine Jordan, your Vice President of Alumni Relation. No. I'm the past Vice President of the Alumni Board. I will be now past president for the next year, and it's an honor to be here with you and to see so many of you here for this really important presentation. We're here to talk about the 38-year history of the Volunteer Work Project. And I have a terrific panel of creative leaders who have been part and parcel of this organization and this organic, I think we call it a organic self-organizing alumni resource to support Antioch College. And so I'm going to run the slides. So I'm going to kind of keep things moving. And I'm going to have my lovely panelists here give us some stories and some updates. We will have a question and answer at the end. We are streaming, so other people around the world can see and hear this. We may do a virtual recap of this later. So I think we're ready to get started. Michael, I assume it's being recorded. Yes, okay. All right, so I'd like to first introduce Peggy Erskine, who is not only a founder, a visionary, and a terrific cook. So Peggy, take it away.
Well, as Catherine said, I'm Peggy Erskine. I'm the class of 1960, and I've lived in Yellow Springs since graduation. My 25th Antioch reunion in 1985 was for many of my classmates the first time they had returned to campus since graduation. We looked around campus and saw the results of a lot of deferred maintenance. For example, Birch Hall roof was leaking. We were concerned about that and other issues. We also realized that at that time in our lives, many of us had growing family expenses, so we didn't have a lot of money to give to Antioch. Mac Palmer, Bob Press, and I began to brainstorm about what we could do to help Antioch. Many of us had fond memories of a working project as part of our freshman orientation. At that time, it was traditional for the honored class to present class gift at reunion. We sat on McGregor steps discussing this, and Mac and Bob and I suggested our class gift could be to start an annual alumni work project. The 60 class reunion attendees agreed, and that's how it started. The plan was for it to be once a year during the week before reunion. That evolved into 4 times a year when the college was opened in 2011, and currently we meet 4 times a year. For the first year in 1986, we agreed to start working on Birch Hall. At that time, reunion took place during the college's break time, so there were no students on campus. We had the grandiose plan to raise money for a new roof during the 1985-86 school year and refurbish all the halls. Grandiose indeed. The Alumni Relations Office helped us, and we invited all alum from all classes to join us for the first work project scheduled for Monday through Thursday, the week of reunion. We raised $1,200 for the roof, and the college provided the additional $1,800 needed for a new roof, and it was installed before the 1986 reunion. For the first work project, 37 folks worked for 4 days and donated 400 hours of service. That was despite the CAF staff effort to keep us well hydrated with copious amounts of cold apple juice, leading to more than a few cases of the runs. We asked them to please change to lemonade. We did manage to renovate 10 of the 15 rooms in Rice Hall, and the bathrooms were thoroughly cleaned. So much for our overly ambitious plans and our estimates of the time required. One of the most interesting aspects of that first work project was that a man from Springfield read about the project someplace, I don't know where, but he loved Saarinen architecture. And so he volunteered for the work project on Birch for several years. I don't remember his name. Maintenance worked with us, and at first they were concerned that we wouldn't have the skills to do a proper job. Those concerns were eased a bit when they saw Mac, who was head of the maintenance for a national park in DC, replacing broken windows and glazing them, and Ralph Overton, who is very tall, on a ladder removing the chalky concrete from water damage in the ceiling seams and filling the divots with proper filler compound. Maintenance staff worked with us and rightfully kept a close eye on our efforts until we proved ourselves and their concerns waned. This week, Shirley Christensen reminded me that a few of us stayed around after the reunion to finish some of the jobs. Ralph, Shirley, and I are the only ones from the first work project who continue to participate. Ralph has participated in more projects than any other alum. Joan Stockton, one of our devoted workies, passed away 3 weeks ago. She had worked a few more than Ralph. Over the past 38 years, alumni, friends, and family have worked on projects all over campus and donated thousands of hours to the betterment of Antioch facilities. You can see more details of the past work projects in the past years on the posters that are in front of many of the buildings. One of the wonderful aspects of the volunteer work project is working with folks from different class years. I remember in 1988, Georgia Lloyd, class of 37, who must have been in her 70s at the time, on a ladder scraping paint off of the experimental theater windows. And at the other end of the spectrum, some alums bring their children and or grandchildren to participate in the work project or to go to day or night camp in Glen Helen. It really is a multi-age experience. Volunteering has always been a part of my life. While a student at Antioch, I was an assistant Girl Scout leader, and following graduation, continued as a leader for about 10 years. To me, it's a way to help organizations I value, and I get to meet so many interesting friends. It's truly a win-win situation. I invite all of you to join us for the next work project, which is scheduled for October 7 through 11. If you have questions, please feel free to ask us about how much fun we have. We work hard and we laugh a lot.
Thank you, Peggy. Now I'm going to introduce a woman who doesn't need an introduction. That's Penny Storm. And she and Richard Zoff are going to help us kind of look at the variety of projects that the work project has done over these 38 years. So Penny, take it away.
I'm going to read it because otherwise I get excited and talk too much. Okay, Volunteer Work Project has had about 900 volunteers with at least a fourth of them repeat offenders. All of us are repeats. We have worked on every building on this campus, even the ones that aren't there, except for Mills. That was the one we never touched. We've worked on every plot of land practically. In 2007, we were scheduled to come to work project, to stay in the units and do something that I don't remember what it was. And they called me the day before they announced the closure and said, no work project, we're closing. And I sat there and said, oh my God, no work project, we're closing? No, we're not closing. No way are we closing. We are the Antioch College Work Project and we're coming. So I called the director of the Glen and I said, you've wanted us to come, we can come this year. And he said, great, I have a task for you, Birch Manor's in great need of repair. So we came. We were still housed in the units because the director of the Glen was part of the university, and he said, we have this work project coming. We worked on every window on the first and second floor of Birch Manor, and there are a lot of windows and doors. We didn't work on the third floor because you needed a lift and they couldn't afford a lift. Everything had to be prepped and then new wood put in where wood had rotted, new window panes when the panes had cracked or broken. All of this was done by this intrepid mass of people who only came one time, many of them. We had people from all kinds of walks. We had disabilities. We had paraplegic, we had Alzheimer's, we had it all. But everybody gets together and we all do the job and everyone works as a team. Every person is so valuable. Well, Daryl Cook was the head of maintenance at the university, and he had the same doubts that you all faced in your first. And he thought, no, there's no way these people can do this. I mean, really, there's no way. So he watched Mac do the first window with Ralph Overton and Gary Hausnick. And after they were just about complete, he walked over to me and he said, okay, Penny, you won't see me again. If you need me, call. And I said, be sure to come to happy hour. And he said, oh, I'm not missing that. Okay. In 2008, all the facilities of the college itself were closed. So we were coming because Birch still needed work and the Glen still wanted us. So we were going to work on all the outbuildings. The outbuildings, some were brick, but most of them, at least the majority of it, was wood. And it was a lot of work because that had not been painted or taken care of in years and years. We had to change windows in those buildings, take off doors and garage. The big garage was a huge garage. I was so envious of them. Anyway, so we did all that and got it done. Meanwhile, we had to feed ourselves because we couldn't, and we had to house ourselves. Well, the remnants of the alumni office found us lodging with people in town who were alumni or friends. We had a blast because we went to Nina Myatt's every night to have, and she's here, yay, Nina. And we had happy hour at her house, and it was so happy. It's really great. And Mary Jane Gaston McCord, who was actually dying at the time, but we didn't know it, she said, I will do the cooking. Now we were in CSK kitchen. It was called the kitchen. There was no stove. There was no hot running water. There was no refrigerator, but that was the kitchen. And there was no china or dishes or anything. We went over with flashlights and got in the Union and gathered all this stuff up and brought it back. And Mary Jane had sent the biggest electric frying pan I've ever seen in my life. I have no idea where she found it. She'd sent it ahead and it was there. And she cooked 2 meals a day on that electric frying pan, heated water in it, and washed the dishes in it. The first breakfast was the best spinach omelet I've ever eaten. We all announced that that was what we were to have every day. Skip any menu planning. The first lunch was comfort food, tomato soup, and grilled cheese sandwiches. We announced, we don't want you to do anything else. This is what we want to eat. And so we got through. But you know, it wasn't the projects themselves, the Birch Manor, on all the work we did that was really important. It is, to me, what the work project is really about. Alumni taking action to symbolize what Antioch has given to us. We want to give back. And love isn't love unless there's action involved. And we love Antioch. The projects have continued except through COVID, all with the idea that we can help the college survive. But we're not done because we haven't helped yet enough. We have to help more. There are 25 four-year colleges have closed since the beginning of this year. We don't want to be 26. We don't want to be 50th. We don't want to be 100th. We want it to survive. We want it to thrive. And the only way we can do that is if we all work together to make sure it happens. So if you can't give money, give us you. We would love to have you with us. We will promise you you'll have a good time and you will fit in and belong just perfectly.
Thank you, Penny. Now, Richard, I'm going to scroll through these A through Z projects, and Richard's going to give us a color commentary. Give him the microphone.
I'm so used to having people tell me be quiet. This is all three of these shots are of dorm work. That Evelyn's in Birch. I think Jim's in Birch too, and Megan's in the units. Just relaxing for a moment, but there's always painting to be done. Always. This was a major project when it was decided to completely remodel Curl Gymnasium and make the Wellness Center. The first thing we thought was they're going to tear out that whole West Gym, and we started salvaging the flooring, just thinking that was good for something. And then what we decided it was good for was a new dance floor in the theater. All right, so we did the whole process of salvaging the wood, cleaning it all, and then the whole operation of building a new floor in the theater. And that took any number of people. One of the things that, since work projects are always associated with reunion, there's always an effort to make the div dance as pretty and spectacular as it can be. The Antioch farm has grown over the years. I can remember when it was more like the Antioch garden. And now, not only are we out helping with the planting and harvesting, but we're doing things like making the sign or making the shelter for on-the-site classes. The college can always use a little perking up in one place or another. In this case, potted plants. And in this case, the bed that you all recognize out in front of the horseshoe under its original construction, and we've been working and maintaining that ever since. Now, when you're outside and you're on the east side of main building, stand there and bend your neck back and back and back. And you'll see those two windows way up in the towers, okay? They had broken panes of glass. To work on those, we not only had to get to them from the inside, which wasn't terribly difficult, but it's an interesting circuitous route, and then clean up the remains of many, many pigeons before it was even fit to work in that environment. Megan was can we back up one?
Yeah. Just a minute, if I can.
Megan was a little smarter and worked on the door to main building at the top of the steps. This is the dumpster behind Birch. Probably a wayward truck just nudged the brickwork a little bit, so we had a challenge putting it back in place. The library has always been very receptive to the volunteers and has always had an interesting variety of projects. We, at one time or another, I think, changed out every light in that building to make them more energy efficient. The first two pictures were at a time where years of neglect had just, the dust had accumulated on the books in the stacks, and we were just down cleaning books. Oh, okay. If something on campus is red, okay, this man is probably responsible for it turning that color. Okay, and David also has always taken a strong concern for the amphitheater. So this is one of many coats of paint that we put on the amphitheater. Yellow for the amphitheater. Yeah, the amphitheater's not red. The picture on the left is just weeding out the cracks over by the library. That was in my tenure. I've only been in the volunteer work project since the college reopened. This was a major project repairing Red Square that I've heard about, but I wasn't participating in it. This is Mr. Lift. He's actually sitting here. For some reason, he feels that he needs to be above all the rest of us. And consequently, he has found the man lift and lives there whenever he's present. But the work that, for example, most of us that have homes have to get the gutters clean or climb up there and clean the gutters. Every building on campus has gutters that get cleaned. Just about every building gets cleaned by Mark going around with the lift. And there are other kinds of high-level roof repairs, and that's the other picture here. This was an adventure. The science building had a major remodeling, contracts and improvements. But at that time, it was recognized that what was there in the labs was beautiful equipment. I mean, original science building equipment, but it wasn't exactly in the best of condition. And so all of that was removed from the building and disassembled as necessary and completely refinished and put back into service. So we have laboratories that we can be very proud of. This is the Antioch Gulag. Now, I understand the Gulags are supposed to be cold, but ours is extra hot. And nevertheless, we find volunteers every year that are willing to remove those plants that are shading a source of a megawatt of electricity that's used here on campus. There are always vehicles or mowers or any other kind of equipment in need of servicing and repair, and we almost always have 2 or 3 or 4 people with the skills or the willingness to develop the skills to do some of that work. Weston, the entry to Weston was another one of those projects that took a lot of effort because it took phases. The columns were all coming apart, okay? So we actually jacked up the roof, took the columns out, took the columns back to the shop, repaired them, and then put them back in place. At the same time, the doors needed to be refinished. All the painting around the doors needed to be fixed. The broken glass needed to be fixed, and the roof up above needed to be fixed. So it's amazing how much time and effort can go into a small feature, but nevertheless an extremely historic feature of Antioch. We try very hard to support all our volunteers. If a volunteer needs a ladder, they whistle, and the ladder carrier brings them a ladder. We don't always have the most up-to-date equipment for moving ladders around, but we get them there.
They don't even have shoes.
And finally, we want you to look at what we've done by just standing by the buildings. A great amount can be seen from the outside as well as imagining what's inside. And to help you, we've put together these signs, which are now distributed around the buildings, to just list some of the major accomplishments that we've had in each building. Not beginning to be the complete list, just the major accomplishments.
Richard, thank you so much. Okay, now this wall doesn't work unless we have happy volunteers. So we're going to start with Helen, who's going to tell us about how we do that. And then David Vincent is going to, and John Baker comes later. Okay, so Helen Welford, welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I may not be quite as entertaining as Penny, but we will. Anyway, to keep volunteers happy, it does make sense to feed them well. But 3 meals a day was not always so. In the beginning, the college provided us with lunch, breakfast and lunch. And for many years, the college feted the volunteers with a special Thursday hot lunch in the Antioch Inn. In 1999, this became an awards lunch, during which volunteers received very interesting awards. Very strange things sometimes, a personalized certificate and poetic recognition for their specific contributions. In 2003, the awards were presented at a dinner prepared by the project leader. Then in 2006, Tim Klass contributed and cooked a fantastic salmon dinner. We loved him. He continued to create this fine meal for the following 7 years, at which point President Mark Roosevelt gave the dinner at his home, honoring us with a festive meal after we received the J.D. Dawson Award. His support continued throughout his tenure. Then to keep us inspired so we didn't flag, David had designed aprons for us, which we wear with pride. And I apologize, I forgot. I left mine behind, but it was a bit grubby. But also these shirts that you see to keep us happy and well dressed. Oh yes, working for the man. After the college's reopening, we decided to become more self-sufficient and feed ourselves breakfast and lunch to keep the costs of the project of the college limited to housing and the provision of a kitchen. The summer of 2013, the work project had over 100 volunteers. There was no place on campus we could feed so many. But with that many volunteers, it was clear we needed to offer dinner as well. So the college rented the kitchen and dining area of the Presbyterian Church on Xenia Avenue, which actually broke precedent to allow us to serve alcohol at happy hour. It was a very large, very hot space with a challenging kitchen and a very, very slow dishwasher. At the end of the day, there was time to load up a dishwasher, go have a beer, then return in plenty of time to unload and reload the dishwasher. When volunteer numbers reduced to 50 or 60, we returned to campus. And depending on where meals were offered to the students, the volunteer work project was given access to alternate spaces to cook. Coretta Scott King Center if we were 20 or 30 in number and those in charge were agreeable. North or Birch kitchens if we had a larger group. To cook in North or Birch, the cooks were obliged to take the Ohio Food Safety Certification as we were using a fully equipped commercial kitchen. So you know, we do understand the rules. Currently, we are back in Coretta Scott King, and we appreciate being welcomed and supported by Queen, who is the director. We strive to keep that good relationship. It's a bit of a squeeze with as many as 50 volunteers, but we've made it work. The cooks pay for the food as a way to contribute to the college. We start menu planning weeks in advance. Dishes defined by the more limited Coretta Scott King Center kitchen with one oven and one stovetop, a portable roaster, and a couple of crock pots. A couple of cooks take on the task of purchasing basics and staples and all the goodies for happy hour. Others of us buy much of what's needed for the meals we plan and prepare ahead baked goods to bring, which is allowable. Yeah. Even in a commercial kitchen, we can do that. Bruce at the Antioch Microfarm offers us produce, which is wonderful. So we do eat a lot of kale. We share responsibility for serving meals so that no one needs to spend more than 8 to 10 hours a day in the kitchen, which is a goal which isn't always achieved, though we aim for it. Dishwashing still needs to be done after meals, often by one non-cooking volunteer for whom it is a full-time job. And we are always glad when someone steps up to take us on this particular responsibility. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the week, it is amazing. Everybody who has been working so bloody hard all week turns up to help mop the floor, clean the counters, put away chairs, put away tables, and the whole crew comes in to help us put the kitchen to bed so that we can leave it, if not the same, better if not the same as when we came into it. And we thank them for that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Helen. David, you want to say a few words about?
I can. I didn't take any notes.
Yeah.
They're always giving you instructions.
An ice cream cone.
See,
Ice cream's the one.
it is run by women.
Yes, it is. Now speak.
Pass it and make sure it's
It's on.
It's on. Speak, David. I've been kind of like the program director for the work project. And that involved coming back in 2009 when the university allowed us into the library. Scott Sanders was there and Sandy, so we were able to sneak in and go to it. And I had fun with ordering a red telephone, payphone, replica of a mid-century payphone in the lobby of the library. So you could put a quarter into it and it went to the work project fund.
It's still there.
Still there. We lost the key to get the money out. But typical. But as things evolved, we got people that really knew how to work. Mark Snyder, our man lift man, who I first saw him, I thought he made the wrong turn. He should have gone to Ohio State to be on the football team. But he came and has been a helpful soul here. And the back of the T-shirt, working for the man, that's there because of Mark. I came up with the slogan, bringing together, and getting the Antioch A back together. Todd Heisland did the artwork and the little stick figures across the front. Roger Huff designed the name tags, and Deanie's taking orders for them. What are they, $11? But a variety of things to keep the community of volunteers welcomed. And I'm from California. I bring See's candy from a C-store, and they found a See's candy on their pillow. Thank you very much. There were a few other things, but I can't remember them.
One is if you are staying anywhere on campus, then thank you to the work project for making your bed, cleaning your room, etc.
Stuffing the pillowcase into the pillow.
David always picks lemons from his own tree and sends them. And they have been lemon meringue pies, lemon bars. I don't know what all else, but that's a staple in our menu.
Meyer lemon,
Meyer lemons.
not just any lemon. Pardon?
French toast.
Oh, yes. French toast. Yes. That's not in the reunion time. There's too many people to make French toast, but with real sour French bread from the East Bay. None of this foreign stuff. But anyway, do join the work project. We have a good amount of time to spend. If you come from a distance, it's better to get acclimated, get over your jet lag the few days before the reunion. And if you have the energy, you can go downtown. The Gulch is a great bar to explore, and Peaches, learn the local activity.
Yes, you do stay on campus for free. I also want to mention that we try to have someone from one of the departments at the college to come and join us for lunch and update us on what's going in that department. Like we'll have someone from the co-op department or someone from the financial area to talk about student loans and things like that. Yeah, Jane came yesterday and had lunch with us and talked to us about what some of the plans are. So it also helps us get a better realistic view of what's going on and not just pay attention to rumors, but get some real information.
Tonight at 9 o'clock is Cabaret with Beth. Oh, 9:30. I have to stay up that late.
Okay.
I'm in a 2-minute with Denwood. There he is.
Okay. We're not done yet. We're going to ask questions in a few minutes. Let me just get through the next 2 sections and then we'll open it up. We're going to move now. John Baker, who's been an integral part of Work Project for a number of years, is not able to join us, but he recorded a piece and he's going to tell us about the Maples workshop. So, Michael, you ready to go?
The story of the Alumni Volunteer Workshop really begins back in October 2009 with the first reunion after the college was purchased and liberated from the university. The work project at that time handled a number of tasks concentrating on the library, which was the only functioning building at the time. For those doing the work, it quickly and painfully became clear how the prior trustees had neglected the campus. It was also very clear that much work was needed if the college was going to reopen by the fall of 2011. The new Antioch had established the Department of Work, and alumni started volunteering for a variety of work projects. The roof rafters in South Hall were reinforced in December 2009 by a crew of volunteers who spent 3 days up in the attic nailing new wood to the 160-year-old rafters. Next, in 3 separate projects in 2010, alumni volunteers worked on Pinnell. We stripped, patched, and painted walls, repaired moldings, and made extensive repairs to the interior and exterior of the building. As the work project drew to a close, Evelyn and Tom Lemaire, Jim Spangler, and myself, among other alums, discussed organizing alumni volunteer work into some kind of ongoing structure. As a result, the Volunteers for Antioch Maintenance Projects, VAMP, was born. After working in the library, South Hall, and Pinnell, we found the need to have a central place to store supplies and tools and perform various work functions. Evelyn Lemaire was a driving force in this endeavor. At the time, college staff was both limited in number and experience, so the alums took the lead in finding a workshop, and that was the Maples Garage. Other sites were suggested by staff, but were completely unworkable due to a lack of heat, rundown condition, and not really being centrally located. One site suggested by college staff was the theater building's workshop. It was a large, cluttered area that had no heat and limited electrical capacity. Its exterior walls were not insulated, windows leaked, and access was very difficult. We actually looked at the possibility of running a gas line to the building, but we quickly realized that this place just wasn't going to work. So we conducted our own search for a workshop and found the garage the Maples Fire Department had used to house its fire engines. The president's dormitory, which included Maples housing, was long gone, but the garage remained and was being used for dead storage. While the building needed a lot of work, it was structurally sound, centrally located, and about the right size. We persuaded, I use that word carefully, we persuaded college staff that this was the better choice. What also remained on campus was a skeleton facility crew, including Ron Hampton, who had worked at the college for decades. He knew every nook and cranny of the campus and was very helpful, as it turned out, in helping us find things. He had his crew move out all the stored desks, chairs, and miscellaneous items cluttering up the garage. And now, with it empty, the alums went to work. For 10 days in January 2011, volunteers cleaned Maples, painted its walls, patched the ceiling, built work tables, repaired equipment, and performed hundreds of other tasks in order to turn it into a workshop. As luck would have it, electricians that were working on a campus building at the time operated by the Children's Theater Workshop had to stop work for lack of a permit. With nothing to do until the permit arrived, Ron arranged for them to come over to Maples and install all of the new wiring. Yeah, I know, we didn't have a permit either, but we did some of the details. Turns out that Ron also knew a college vendor who had a gas furnace sitting around, and he got that installed in the garage. So the building had light, heat, and a fresh coat of paint. Now the scavenger hunt began. We didn't have a lot of nickels, so we had to go find the things we needed to make the workshop work. We went hunting all over the campus, and we found saws, drill press, welders, lights, hand tools, and other equipment scattered in the theater building, the art annex, and campus maintenance workshops. Many hadn't been used in some time, but they were still in workable condition. We even got into the kitchen and liberated a couple of stainless steel tables, which we could use as workbenches. Using the skills and talents of the assembled group of alums, we reconditioned the saws, the drill presses, the lights, and other tools, and pretty much brought them all back to life. The end result was a functioning workshop, complete with 4 saws, a drill press, sander, welder, bench grinder, air compressor, and many work tables. We had lockers so that alumni could store their personal tools. We had sorted out shelving to store parts and hand tools. And to make sure that the building's heritage was retained, the original Maples Fire Department sign was hung up in the workshop. College staff, though skeptical of our selection of the Maples garage, was impressed with the finished product. So much so that a small party was held when the work was completed, with folks on campus getting a tour of the new workshop and an explanation of how it came to be. Everyone was impressed. The workshop didn't sit idle for very long. It was put to use the following month when alumni volunteers took on the task of resurfacing and repairing the wood desktops in the offices in McGregor. Damaged from years of moisture, sunlight, and spilled coffee, the desktops were removed and taken to the workshop. Volunteers cleaned, sanded, glued, and stained the wood, bringing it back to its original beautiful condition. Once the repair was done, the desktops were reinstalled in McGregor. This was the first of what came to be many projects done on campus in which the workshop played an integral and important part. It's important to note that the key ingredients to the construction of a volunteer workshop were not elbow grease and WD-40. It was the dedication and commitment of the alumni involved and their self-reliance. While the usual role alumni play in supporting their alma mater is to give money, one of the things that makes Antioch alumni unique is the donation of their hands, backs, and brains in making real and tangible improvements to the college and its facilities. As in the case with the workshop, often this was done with the alumni leading the way, taking on all aspects of a task and seeing it through to completion. We hope folks realize that the sweat equity of volunteers creates a real bond between them and the college. It's not just enough to say I went here. I can also say that the library is brighter and more efficient because of the new lighting I helped install.
Thank you, John. So in 2012, the Alumni Association awarded the volunteer work project the J.D. Dawson Award for supporting and service to the college. So that's a picture of J.D. and we wanted to acknowledge that. So now we want to look to the future. I'm going to invite Beth Richards, and Mark is here as well, Mark Snyder, to just talk about what are we going to do next. Do you want to stand here? Or? Yeah.
I think everything's pretty much been discussed. Everything's pretty much been discussed about the importance of the workshop and the connection between the volunteers and the students that are here, those who sometimes appear, and we hope they come more often. I hope they stop by the workshop and see how it has been arranged, what has arisen after all the hard work of some who don't volunteer anymore or do sporadically, and the hope and the plan to keep that workshop or something akin to it on campus so we can continue to work to the best, for the best benefit of the school and the current students. So that's all I have to say about that.
Hello, hello. I'll just park my little self in front. I'm Beth Richards, class of 2002, 2004, 2005, 2006. I did the Antioch scenic route through my degree. And one of the coolest things actually about work project, and this is my plug for the folks in my eras, plural, and folks who are not these amazingly lovely elders behind me, is how phenomenal the intergenerational component of this program is. There's a real famous picture I think most everyone has probably seen with this toilet seats of all of the dorms. One of the dorms, I think they snatched them out of the South Hall and they strung them up between the towers of main building. I think many, many, many of us have seen that picture in the course of our time here in the record. Mac Palmer, that man in the hard hat on the ladder, is the man who did that. I got to meet him. Like the stories and these people are fascinating. The stories they can tell about Antioch are fascinating. The stories they tell about their real lives are fascinating. And as a mentorship kind of relationship and just making cool additional new friends among this group of people has been really tremendous, really tremendous. And I would love to just have more people of my era experience that. The flip side of that is I was down at the bonfire last night with some of the current students. And then to now be in the hot seat of, oh, well, do you know about the GLCA programs? Like, let me tell you about this information. You should talk to so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. So now I'm getting to carry that forward into the current population, as do all of the folks sitting here at this table and everyone on the project. Around that, don't be intimidated by the physical skills. Yeah, we do a lot of painting, sawing, hammering, banging, but there's a lot of just admin reunion stuff that works. We're happy to tailor to your skills. Reunion, just from a front end perspective, wouldn't get done if work project weren't here. Stuff in your badges, printing things off, cutting them up. And we would love to invite you for that. If you are also interested in the physical skills side of it, Antioch is a good way. People are varied, sharing of their knowledge, sharing of their skills. It's a great way to integrate that back into your own life. Take it home. Saw and bang on your own walls in your own house, in your own apartment. We get to do that too. So moving forward, a couple of exciting things that are particularly in pocket. I'm going to move up this list. Now that the West Dormitory is being occupied by the Emerge program, we're excited to potentially reach out, touch base with those people. The old plot of land that is President's is going to actually become the new senior center for Yellow Springs. Work Project is excited to look forward to reaching out to those people as well. The Federal College Work Program, we're looking to link up with that as well. And one of the programs that I am the most excited about is we're going to try and pilot next year a weekend work project. I know for a lot of people who are mid-career, who are younger, it's hard to travel. It's hard to drop everything for a week and come. Full respect. That's hard. Childcare, all those demands. But to do a weekend project where you'd be able to come, stay on campus housing, and have 3 to 4 days of a much more concentrated project where we can be focused, we can be direct, y'all can experience the project. And it's like as folks reiterate, it's a great way to give back, even if you don't have serious cash and pocket change. Your labor and your efforts are so, so valuable. It's wonderful here. Wouldn't miss it for the world. I've been at this for 10 dang years now, so I would love to experience more of that and help guide that into the future, that we have a continual pool of people, pool of talent to continue to give back in this specific way to the school. Thank you. So at this point, we're going to move to our Q&A session, headed up by Catherine Jordan.
Yeah. All right, so we've got time now for questions. Just raise your hand and Jim, you want to go first? Wait, we got a microphone. Eric's going to bring the mic.
Jim beat me to the punch, but I'm going after Jim. Thank you. We saw a picture of the floor that was put down in the theater building, and that came from the West Gym. And the West Gym had basketball lines on it, volleyball lines on it, and pickleball lines on it. And the floor that we put in is a sprung floor, basically for dancers. It has something like 2 by 2 inch foam cubes every foot or so, and then plywood put this way and plywood put that way, so no joints are in the same place. And then we put the flooring down, unfinished. I had heard somewhere that a random pattern is the hardest thing to design. And we have a little curve here and a blue there and a yellow and a short red. It was just an amazing picture. There is a picture of it in the lobby down there. And in the theater, it's on the north side of the room. And I encourage you to go down and check out the beautiful. We laid it all, and then we got floor sanders, and we finished it all off after that.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. More questions. Tony over here, Eric.
Right. Okay, but I'm in the stack.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see it.
In 2015, I had the honor and the privilege to be the staff person who supported the volunteer work project. And from that time on, I've been kind of addicted to it in a way because it lifts my spirits when the volunteers are here. I love to hang out with them, and I am many friends have grown out of that relationship. There are two things that I think one of them has sort of been said, and one of them has not been said. The one thing is kind of along the lines of what Jim was just talking about. It's the quality of the work as well. The volunteers are skilled, and they see the quality that was there that can live on. The example when I'm talking about that aspect that I bring up a lot was one that has been brought up about the labs in the science building. The beautiful furnishings that were used for 100 years, and you could see the abuse, but you could also see the beauty, and the volunteers did something that never would have been done if you just hired a company to go in and put in new tables. They'd have stripped it out. They would have replaced it with some crappy IKEA stuff that would fall apart 10 years later, 5 years later. But now, no, we have beautiful labs now that show that the history, so students know where they are when they're working there. The other thing that has not been mentioned, but because I was a fundraiser for 15 years here, the volunteers we know how generous they are with their time and energy and knowledge, but they've also been very generous with their dollars. And all of them give to their capacity. And the monetary value of their work is great, but the monetary of their money is even greater. and they give. And so it's very, we want to thank you all for doing that. It's a significant contributions made by people who are all in. And so I think that should be said and noted.
Thank you, Eric. Tony, you want to go next?
I'm actually going to ask a question that's not unrelated to what Eric said. I wonder if anyone has done the math, the accounting maybe, to track the amount of in-kind contribution that this amazing amount of work has produced. Because when budgets are made for organizations, I've worked in nonprofits my whole life, in-kind is something that you could put in your budget, and you have to account for both sides, and both an expense and a revenue. But it must be $1 million? Has anybody ever tracked that?
Much more than that over the years.
Right,
Or
over
much
the
more.
year, over $1 million of money that would have been spent by the college if it had not been for the work project. And I wonder if that could somehow be put into some system somewhere.
It is. It's tracked every day. All of us write down what we've done and how many hours we worked. And there's a formula for in-kind donation amount. And so that's captured, and then it's aggregated and consolidated. I don't have the total number in my head, but it is being tracked.
Is it put in the budget?
I don't know.
That's a different question.
Yeah. I don't know if in-kind is being put into the budget. Is that a question for Jane or?
It used to be when I was in advancement, it was noted that in-kind.
Here, use them.
Well, there are different kinds of in-kind. So there's the very tangible in-kind
like the food that the volunteers purchase and feed, the paint that volunteers purchase and apply. And so that's you get receipts for that. So it's very, but then the volunteer hours also, there's a federal number that you can apply to that to say, 1 hour equals 20 some dollars. 33. Okay. And so, yes, it is accounted for. The ones with receipts are more easily accounted for. But yeah, so there's
Okay.
not a reporting sheet for like
Yeah.
$32.
We have a
Yeah.
couple more minutes. So Kathy, you got a question?
Hi, I'm Kathy Huff, and I'm one of the folks who can't do the maintenance work because of allergies and a bad back, but I've worked for years in advancement, in the co-op department, admissions, over at WISO, you name it, wherever they had a request, I've helped with, even with Scott Sanders digitizing old microfilm, and I learned a lot about the history of the college in the 1920s and 30s and how they did the work, how Arthur Morgan and his wife Lucy got the Glen and things like that. But what I was going to say that's apropos of your question, Tony, is that one time I worked with Eric here, and we went through all the notebooks of everybody who signed in for, I forget how many years, but it was a couple of decades at least. We found who had signed the, what is that form? The consent forms. And then also how many hours. So that is recorded. And the formula you were saying, Dave, it's over $20 an hour. It's 23 or 4.
It's now $33 an hour.
It's now 32.
33.
And this is important because volunteer hours are actually valued higher than minimum wage of workers. And so it should be part of the in-kind budget and should show up on the balance sheet for Antioch College. So we did look at that, as that was one of the jobs that I did with Eric. So thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm next in stack because I have the microphone. There's a couple whimsies. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll hold it.
When you leave and go over by Maples, you'll see that the man lift has been rededicated with decals on it. It is the Horace Man Lift. And Mark and Catherine helped me. We put up new ribbons on the north side of the theater so that there's a little whimsy on that otherwise industrial building. And there are red doors because theaters have red doors. They used to be gray. And I had fun painting them red.
Okay. Any more questions back here? Michael?
I was involved running 2 university gallery programs, and we got a lot of funding from either the National Endowment for the Arts or the Ohio Arts Council, and we had to match. Usually it's a 50% match, match whatever funds were going to come from the agency, but that match could be all sorts of indirect costs that the university was experiencing, a proportion of the business office, et cetera. So my question is, are you keeping tabs on the value of this contributed contributions of the workforce? And has that so far ever been used to secure through a match a grant in some field that the college finds very useful to its educational mission?
So yes, we are keeping track of the donated hours and all the in-kind. I don't know the answer to whether it's been used as a match for a grant.
So what would be interesting to see is how much money from outside the college has been secured by the value of these labors to
That-
be a match. And if,
that's a good question.
and it's time, if you haven't done it, it's time to start.
Okay. I'm going to take, are there any more questions? We're almost out of time here.
There's one back here.
Mark back here. And, oh, no.
Will Maples be open to students once the work college relationship begins?
The question is, do we have a relationship with the work college and the work project? It's on our list of things we like to explore. We don't have the answer to that right now. Maybe.
I think we see the open door and we plan to walk through it. And it's just a matter of working out the details on how to coordinate schedule and the requirements that the students have and when and how they do the work. And but it's definitely something that's on our radar. And Louisa, if you want to add.
Hi, everybody. I'm Louisa Beery, she, her. I'm the Dean of Co-op and have been, along with Eric, spearheading the Federal Work College project that was a proposal that was approved this year that we're very excited as a new accomplishment. Everything is pretty brand new with the building out of the Work College, but I will say, essentially, it is lifting up what we already do here at Antioch. The co-op program, it stays the same, and we're lifting it up more. And the on-campus work that our students do every study term when they are here on campus, we are going to be able to expand and lift it up more. And we're definitely grateful to you all. Some of you know my grandmother, Mary Brombacher Bowman, who participated many, many years with the volunteer work program, loved to be out on the farm helping with the garlic harvest. And she's at home this week in San Antonio, but with fond memories of you all's work. And so we don't yet know how they will connect. But I think the fact that we have alumni doing this work on our campus each year is a model for other work colleges to learn about. And that's the part I'm also excited to be able to share with the other work deans at Warren Wilson College, Berea College in Kentucky, Sterling up in Vermont, Blackburn, we're one of 10 around the country. And with this new designation, we're the first in the state of Ohio. So we're really excited about this moment. Thank you all.
Thank you, Louisa. Appreciate that. I'll take one more question. Is there any other burning question? See. Okay.
I'll just tell you one thing. While you are here reminiscing about your past, we're sitting here planning our future. So come and join us.
Excellent. Jim? Okay, Jim, I've got one more question. Eric, for Jim.
I was at the bonfire last night, and there were a couple students who liked what we are doing, and they thought it would be neat if we could coordinate this week that we do the work with their community day so that they could participate in that way.
Great idea. So we have been tied to commencement, but because the big tent didn't happen, we may have more flexibility. So that's a great idea. And again, we would coordinate through Shannon and the administration to see if we can, that would be brilliant.
I will also advertise and say that we are open, and if any students or faculty or anyone else wants to show up and join us for breakfast or lunch, we'll be happy to put them to work anytime.
Great. This is
an alum. You can be just a regular person that loves this college.
Right. All right. Yeah. This is a last page. Here are some resources. You probably can't see them, but if you just go to Antioch College .edu/pan, I can't read that. Anyway, come up and look at that. These are connections and ways to get in touch with the work project. Thank you for being such a great audience. And let's thank our panel for all of their good energy. We appreciate it. Okay, the next.